Okay, so I'm just recording a quick lesson on hyperbola graphs and revising those. So a bit of revision first. If you look at these graphs, just stop the video, see if you can write the names and the general equation of each of these graphs. So stop the video. So now that you've had a go, number one is absolute, an absolute graph. And remember, it's y equals x with the straight brackets. Number two is a parabola, y equals x squared. Number three, this is an exponential growth. And so when it's exponential, x is the power. So y equals some constant, could be k or a, you can name it whatever letter, but x is the power. Number four, we've got, this is a cubic, y equals x cubed to the power of 3, or you could have 3 brackets. Number five is a circle, you don't need to worry about that, x squared plus y squared equals your radius squared. And the last one, this is the hyperbola graph, which we're looking at now. And that's general equation is y equals some number, we'll just have a constant, we can give it any letter of the alphabet, over x. So let's talk about that one. What are the features of this hyperbola? So as we said, when we look at the general equation, the x value multiplied by the y value equals some number. And for each graph, that could be a different number. And if you go to the graphing program, then you can try different graphs and see how it changes with a change in the k, the constant. Looking at this graph here, if I look on my x-axis at 2 and go up to the line, a point on the graph, I have 2, 4. So when x is 2, y is 4. That's a point on the line. So if I multiply those together, x is 2, y is 4, then the k value for this graph is 8. Now we can rewrite it. Normally we start our equations with y equals. So if I get rid of the x on the left side, instead of multiplying by x, on the other side that will be divided by x. So normally you see it written in this form because it's more natural to start an equation y equals. But it's the same thing as x times y makes k. And this particular graph, k is 8. So the equation of this graph is y equals 8 over x. Now you can see the bigger the value of k, if k was, let's say 10, then this point, when x is 2, 2 times 5 is 10. So if I choose a different color, if I go in green, 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 2 is 10. My graph is going to move out a little bit as I increase in the value of k. If I have a very small value of k, let's do a red one, the graph is going to come in like this. Now you'll get two parts of the graph in two different quadrants. So at the moment we're making a positive number. So on the graph here you've got negative 2 times negative 4 would get this point on the graph. So two negatives also make a positive. If you want the other quadrant, let's say in green again, this one here, if I want my graph to be over here, it would be x times y equals negative 8, or y equals negative 8 over x. And that would also be true for down here. So if it slants in a negative way, then x times y is a negative number. If I want the positive quadrants, then it will be x times y is positive x. Let's look at, what about this graph here? The first thing you have to remember is there are asymptotes. So that's where the graph never goes. So I'll draw it in green here. The graph gets closer and closer to these lines, but it never crosses these lines, never touches these lines. So my asymptotes here are at x equals 0 and y equals 0. So my graph hasn't been translated at all. Now, from the asymptotes, I'm going to look and find a point on the line. That looks like a good point there. If this is 2 and this is 5. So if I have 5 squares up and 2 squares across, so if x equals 2 and y equals 5, x times y equals k. So 2 times 5 equals 10. K has a value of 10. So my equation is going to be y equals 10 over x. Okay, that's the same as x times y equals 10. Y equals 10 divided by x. So that would be my equation. It's not translated. Those asymptotes are still on the x and y axis. Nothing's been moved. Let's try another one. That was positive. This one here. Now you can see, I'll draw it in black. This is my my x-axis is along here, and my y-axis is down here. But the graph has been moved up, so I need to redraw the asymptote. So you can see the vertical asymptote. Okay, so the vertical, the y-axis, has not moved. It's still down here, but the horizontal has been moved up here. The horizontal has gone up 3. So my graph is going to be y equals k over x. Like your parabola that's moved up 3, it's going to be plus 3 on the end. Now to find the value of k, look at the asymptotes. And from the asymptotes, I can see that this point here is x is 2 and y is 2. Right? Or if another point on there that goes up 1 and across 4. 4 times 1 or 2 times 2 is 4. Y equals 4 over x plus 3. Because if I look at the points on the graph, they are 1 up and 4 across from the asymptote, or 2 up and 2 across. So that's how I find the equation. That was positive. This one here, I draw my asymptotes in first. So the asymptote, oops, I shouldn't choose red, blue. The asymptote is still through the middle there, but the graph has moved sideways. So let's draw that in. How far sideways has it moved? It's moved, 0 has come across to 3. So it's moved right 3. My general equation is y equals k over x. Now when it moves right 3, it's minus 3. So y equals k over x minus 3 is my general equation. Now, how far from the asymptotes is the graph? So if I mark a point, there's a point on the graph. It's 1 out and 5 up. 5 times 1 is 5. So y equals 5 over x minus 3. So it's important to draw the asymptotes first and then look at how far the graph is from the line. That was hyperbolas. And our last one here. So the name is a hyperbola. The equation I'm going to draw my asymptote. That goes along here. The vertical asymptote is still the same. The horizontal has moved up 2. So my equation is going to be y equals some number over x plus 2, because it's moved up 2. And to work k out, I've got to see how far from the line. I can see a nice point here. From the asymptotes, it's gone down 2 and across 3. So 3 times 2. Now this is in the negative, no, sorry, it's positive still. This is a negative 2 times a negative 3. So it's still going to be y equals 6 over x plus 2. Were any of those other ones? So the features, you must mention the asymptote. So here, my asymptote, whoops, I think it only has one s, is at x equals 0 and y equals 2. So x cannot equal 0 on your graph. The other features, you could make the domains of this from x is less than 0 and greater or equal to negative 10. Yeah. Okay, I hope that and more about hyperbolas. If you go to Education Perfect, there's a hyperbola task which will help you also know the features and the equations of your hyperbolas. Hope that helped. Thanks very much.